I watched my son lift the glass, the one meant for me, filled with a poison designed to steal my future, and drink it down without a second thought. 30 minutes later, the screams began. The scent of fresh paint mingled with the subtle aroma of grilling burgers as the sun dipped low over the Portland skyline. Laughter and jazz music drifted from my new home, a symphony of a dream realized, but underneath it all, a chilling unease hummed. Inside, the living room glowed with the warm light of a late June evening, a perfect backdrop for the housewarming party that was about to unravel. My name is Walter. I'm 68, and that number used to feel like a countdown, a ticking clock to irrelevance. But here, in this beautiful craftsman-style house, a sense of possibility hummed within me, a feeling I hadn't known since my beloved Evelyn passed 2 years ago. This house wasn't just a purchase, it was a declaration. After 3 decades of pouring my life into blueprints, designing buildings for other people, I'd finally created a sanctuary for myself. The oak floors, the built-in bookshelves, the east-facing kitchen windows where I could watch the sunrise, every detail resonated with a deep, personal joy. This place was solid, just like the life I was building, brick by brick, again. The house had 3 bedrooms. One for me, one for my office, and one for my granddaughter, Lily. She was 8, a whirlwind of energy with Evelyn's eyes and her mother's fire. Her stuffed animals sat on her bed, a silent, furry jury. My son, Adam, and his wife, Brenda, lived 20 minutes away. Adam, a high school English teacher, was everything I could hope for in a son, patient, thoughtful, always calling to check in. He remembered his mother's death anniversary without a reminder. Brenda was a real estate agent. Charming, yes, but there was always something I couldn't quite name about her, something that felt off. She loved luxury, the kind her real estate commissions never quite seemed to support. I'd noticed Adam quietly shouldering more and more of their expenses over the years. I told myself it wasn't my business, that every marriage had its own economics. But then, 3 months ago, over dinner, she'd suggested I put this house, my sanctuary, into a family trust. Just for estate planning, Dad, she'd purred, using that term of endearment that lately felt more like a claim. It would make things so much easier for Adam when the time comes. You know how complicated probate can be. I'd smiled, changed the subject, but a cold dread had settled in. I was 68, not 88, and the way she'd said, when the time comes, had sounded less like concern and more like anticipation. My architect's instinct, the one that could spot a faulty beam or a structural problem hiding behind fresh paint, whispered that Brenda's helpfulness had foundations I couldn't quite see. I pushed the thought away that evening, determined to celebrate. This party was for me, for Adam and Lily, for my old colleague David, for new neighbors. Everything was ready. Everything was perfect. So, why did this low-grade anxiety hum beneath the surface? Why did my mind keep circling back to Brenda's smile, her talk of trusts? Why was I mentally reviewing the locks on my doors, the passwords on my accounts, the clarity of my will? "You're being ridiculous," I muttered to the empty house. My voice felt strange, like it belonged to someone older, someone more fragile than I felt. The doorbell rang at 6:15 exactly. David, my old friend and contractor, stood there, bottle of wine in hand, that easy grin on his face. "Walter, this place is even better than you described. You always knew how to pick the bones." The house slowly filled with the sounds I'd hoped for, laughter, clinking glasses, jazz music softly playing.
It was warm, alive.
Then, Adam's car pulled into the driveway, and my chest swelled with that familiar burst of joy. Lily burst through the door, a pink-dressed whirlwind. "Grandpa, your house is so big." I scooped her up, inhaling the sweet scent of strawberry shampoo. "Not too big for you, sweetheart. There's a room with your name on it." Adam came in, his smile tired but genuine. "Dad, this place is perfect. Mom would have loved it." He was right. Then Brenda glided in, a woman I didn't recognize trailing behind her. Brenda, ever the gracious host, introduced her. "Dad, this is Chloe. She helped plan our wedding. I insisted she come tonight." Chloe's handshake was firm, her eyes direct, but there was something too carefully calibrated about her. As the evening progressed, I noticed Chloe's questions, seemingly casual, weren't. They were probing about square footage, property values, retirement planning. Wedding planners didn't usually care about investment portfolios. I was still pondering this when Brenda's voice cut through my thoughts. "Dad, let me make you a drink." Still an old-fashioned, right? She moved to the makeshift bar, her movements confident, almost performative. I watched her hands, watched the extra care she put into one specific glass, setting it slightly apart from the others. My gut clenched. Lily tugged my sleeve. "Grandpa, look what I drew." She handed me a crayon drawing of a castle. "It's a castle for you to be safe in," she declared. Safe. The word made my skin prickle. Brenda approached, the crystal glass catching the lamplight, amber liquid swirling. Her smile was flawless, the kind designed to disarm, to charm. But her eyes watched me like a predator, calculating, measuring, waiting to see which wall would fall first. "Your favorite, Dad," she purred, extending the glass with both hands, "just the way you like it." I took it, feeling the cool weight of the crystal. "Thanks, Brenda. You didn't have to." "No trouble at all," she replied, her smile too perfect. That architectural instinct, the one that screamed when something was off by a quarter-inch, flared. I placed the glass on a side table. "I'll enjoy it in just a minute. Let me say hello to everyone first." For a microsecond, her smile faltered.
Disappointment.
Frustration. Then it snapped back into place. "Of course, Dad. Whenever you're ready." The doorbell rang again. Grateful for the interruption, I turned to answer it. I didn't see Adam step up behind me. Didn't see him reach for a glass on the side table. Didn't see which one he picked up. By the time I returned, Adam was laughing with David, whiskey in hand. 15 minutes later, I noticed Adam wiping his forehead. "You okay, son?" I asked. "Yeah, just warm in here." His face was flushed. "Must be all the people." I frowned. It was perfectly comfortable. 10 minutes after that, I overheard Adam talking to Brenda in the kitchen. "I've got a headache, and I'm feeling a little dizzy. Did I drink that old-fashioned too fast?" Brenda's voice, smooth and concerned, floated out. "Maybe you're coming down with something, honey." Adam pressed his fingers to his temples. My untouched drink sat on the table. 5 minutes later, his nose started bleeding. Not a trickle. A stream. "Walter." David's shout cut through the party. "Something's wrong." The room went silent. Every head turned. I was at Adam's side in 3 strides. "Sit down. Head forward." I grabbed napkins, pressed them firmly to his nose, but the blood soaked through, pouring onto his shirt. "Dad, I can't." Adam's voice was thick, slurred. His knees buckled. I caught him, lowering him to the floor. "Someone call 911. Brenda was suddenly there, kneeling, tears streaming down her face.
Adam.
"Adam, can you hear me? Oh my God, what's happening?" Lily's frightened voice pierced the chaos. "Daddy. Grandpa, what's wrong with Daddy?" "He's going to be okay, sweetheart," I said, though I wasn't sure I believed it. The blood wasn't stopping. Adam's eyes rolled back. "Stay with me, son." Now. Blood seeped from the corners of his mouth. David was on the phone with 911, his voice steady. "Is the patient conscious?" the operator asked through the speaker. "No, barely," I yelled. "He's bleeding from his nose and mouth. We can't get it to stop." "What has he consumed in the last hour?" "Whiskey. Just whiskey." "Any medications? Any known allergies?" "No, nothing." Adam's eyes fluttered. His hand gripping mine went slack. "Adam." Brenda's scream was raw, desperate, and incredibly convincing. I looked up at her, and for just a moment, our eyes met. Hers were wide, wet with tears. But something behind them didn't match. Something was off. The ambulance arrived 8 minutes later, sirens wailing, lights flashing. The paramedics moved with practiced urgency. "Impossible anticoagulant overdose," one muttered. They loaded Adam onto the gurney. "I'm coming too," I said. "Only one family member," the paramedic replied. Meet us at Providence Portland Medical Center. Brenda stepped back, nodding, tears still flowing. I'll get Lily and follow right behind you. As the door slammed shut, I caught one last glimpse of my house, the house I'd dreamed of for 30 years, and Brenda standing in the doorway, surrounded by stunned guests. Her face was a mask of grief. But I'd spent 3 decades reading blueprints, reading people, reading the spaces between what was said and what was meant. And in that moment, as the ambulance tore through the streets of Portland with my son's life hanging in the balance, one thought consumed me. That drink wasn't meant for Adam. It was meant for me. The fluorescent lights of the emergency room waiting area gnawed at my eyes. Or maybe it was the fear. Dr. Erickson, her expression serious, found me by the window. Mr. Dalton, your son is stable. We've got him on fluids, vitamin K. We caught it in time, but it was close. She gestured for me to sit. Mr. Dalton, your son was exposed to a toxic dose of anticoagulant medication warfarin. Combined with alcohol, it caused uncontrolled bleeding. The words hit me like a physical blow. Warfarin? No, he doesn't take blood thinners. I do. For my heart. Dr. Erickson's brow furrowed. Do you think he accidentally took your medication? No. I shook my head. Adam doesn't live with me. He wouldn't have access to my medicine cabinet. She made a note. Then we need to figure out how this happened. Warfarin doesn't just appear in someone's system by accident. Before I could respond, the door slid open and Brenda rushed in, Lily's hand in hers. Her eyes were red, her voice breathless. Doctor, is he okay? Dr. Erickson stood. He's stable. We're treating him for... Could it be something from the party? Brenda interrupted, looking between us. Food poisoning? A bad batch of shrimp? This isn't food poisoning, Dr. Erickson said gently but firmly. This is pharmaceutical. Your husband ingested a significant amount of warfarin. Brenda blinked. Warfarin? But how? She was asking how it happened, not why. My internal alarm bell screamed. Dr. Erickson explained they were moving Adam to the ICU. You'll be able to see him briefly once he's settled. Grace curled up in a chair, clutching a stuffed bear someone had grabbed from the house. Brenda sat across from me, scrolling on her phone, not looking at me. The clock read 2:47 a.m. I couldn't sleep, couldn't stop replaying the night. Brenda handing me the glass, her face falling when I set it down. Adam picking up a glass. Which one? The blood, the panic, the ambulance, and now warfarin in his system. My warfarin, the thought formed. Slowly, like ice spreading across glass. That drink was meant for me. I looked up. Brenda had moved to the hallway, phone pressed to her ear. Through the glass, I saw her pacing, gesturing sharply, her face tight with anger. Her voice was too low to hear, but her body language said everything. This wasn't a worried wife. This was someone whose plan had gone wrong. I moved closer, just out of sight. I don't care what you think. It wasn't supposed to. No, listen to me. She stopped mid-sentence, turned, saw me through the glass. Our eyes met. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she ended the call, slipped the phone into her pocket, and walked back into the waiting room with a bright, shaky smile. That was my sister, she said. Just checking in. She's so worried. I nodded, said nothing. The sky outside began to lighten. When I returned to the waiting room after seeing Adam, Brenda was asleep, phone clutched in her hand, face peaceful. The picture of a worried wife. But I had seen that phone call. I had seen the look in her eyes before the tears came. And for the first time in 9 years, I wondered who my son had really married. I came home around noon the next day. My house looked like a crime scene yet to be investigated. Plastic cups, half-eaten food, a crooked string of fairy lights. It still smelled faintly of whiskey and barbecue smoke, but I didn't see it the way I had 24 hours ago. Now, everything looked different. I moved through the living room, slowly cataloging details, like I used to catalog blueprints. The side table where I'd set my drink. The spot where Adam had collapsed. The doorway where Brenda had stood, tears streaming. In the kitchen, the whiskey bottle sat on the counter. I picked it up carefully, turned it in the light. Woodford Reserve, still 2/3 full. I found a Ziploc bag, slipped the bottle inside, sealed it. Then, with a Sharpie, I wrote, June 8th, 2024. Housewarming party. Whiskey. Brenda. Architect's habit. Label everything. Document everything. I headed to the bathroom. My medicine cabinet, alphabetized, each bottle in a row. I pulled out the warfarin. Orange cap, white label, Walter Dalton, warfarin, 5 milligrams. Take 1 tablet daily. I unscrewed the cap and poured the pills onto the counter.
I counted them. 22.
The prescription had been refilled 2 weeks ago, May 26th. I took 1 pill every morning. That meant I should have 28 pills left. But I only had 22. 6 pills were missing. I pulled out my medication log, a small notebook where I tracked every dose. Evelyn had taught me to do it. Every single day accounted for. May 26th. Every day since then had a check mark. No missed doses. No mistakes. Someone had taken those pills. I sat on the edge of the bathtub, the bottle in my hand, and forced myself to think clearly. Who had been in this house in the last 2 weeks? Adam and Brenda for dinner, but I'd been with them. James Fletcher, David now, had stopped by briefly. Then the memory hit me like a punch to the chest. 3 days before the party, Brenda had come by. She'd said she wanted to help set up decorations, get a head start. I'd been in the garage organizing tools. She'd been inside, alone, for maybe 20 minutes. She'd had access to this bathroom, this cabinet, this bottle. I stood up, walked back to the kitchen, and opened my laptop. I searched warfarin therapeutic dose versus toxic dose. The results loaded. I scanned the numbers, did the math. Therapeutic dose, 5 milligrams per day. 6 pills, 30 milligrams total. Crushed into a drink, combined with alcohol, enough to cause dangerous bleeding in someone not on the medication. Enough to cause serious harm, or worse. I closed the laptop and stared at the whiskey bottle in the Ziploc bag. I needed confirmation. I needed lab results. I called Robert, an old colleague from a bridge project. He'd gone into forensic engineering. Robert, I need a favor. I need something tested privately, discreetly. No official channels. He paused. What kind of favor? I can't explain yet, but I need to know if there's warfarin in this bottle of whiskey. And I need to know soon.
He sighed.
Yeah, I know someone. Private lab in Southeast Portland. No questions asked. I'll text you the address. Thanks, Robert. I owe you. Be careful, Walter. That afternoon, I drove to the lab. A nondescript building, no sign, just a number on the door. A woman in a white coat met me. She didn't ask my name, just took the bag, wrote down my phone number. 3 to 5 business days. I'll pay extra for faster results. 2 days, but it'll cost you. That's fine. I drove home. The house was empty. Adam was in the ICU. Brenda was with him. Lily was with Brenda's sister. I sat alone, the medication log open on my lap, the math playing out in my head. 6 pills. 30 milligrams. Enough to cause internal bleeding until it was too late. And Brenda had been alone in this house. She'd had access. The lab results came 3 days later. I was sitting in my car outside a Safeway, grocery list forgotten. The email notification lit up my phone. No subject line. Just Pacific Northwest Forensics. I should have waited, driven home, prepared myself. But I couldn't. I opened it right there. The first line made my stomach drop. Analysis complete. Warfarin detected. I read it twice. 3 times. The concentration, 450 milligrams in a single drink. I stared at the number until my eyes blurred. Then, with shaking hands, I typed warfarin safe dose into my phone. Normal therapeutic dose, 2 to 10 milligrams daily. Not all at once. Not in a glass of whiskey. 450 milligrams. My architect's brain, that force of habit, calculated. That wasn't a mistake. That wasn't someone accidentally crushing a pill into the wrong glass. That was lethal. Enough to cause internal bleeding so severe that by the time anyone realized what was happening, it would be too late. I sat there, frozen. 10 minutes.
20.
People walked past my car. Life went on. And I couldn't move because the lab report wasn't just confirmation. It was proof someone had tried to kill me. I drove to the hospital. Adam was sitting up when I walked in. Day 4. He had color in his face again, fewer tubes. He looked tired, but alive. "Hey, Dad." He smiled. "They're saying I might get out of here in another day or 2. I pulled a chair close, trying to keep my face neutral. "That's great news, son." He leaned forward, winced. "Dad, what happened that night?" The lab report felt heavy in my jacket pocket. The urge to tell him everything, to make him see the numbers, was almost overwhelming. But he was still pale, still weak. "What do you mean?" I said, choosing my words carefully. "The doctors keep saying it was some kind of reaction to medication, but I don't take any. They won't give me a straight answer." It was some kind of reaction. They're still investigating. To what? They don't know yet. He studied my face. "Dad, are you okay? You look." "I'm fine." I cut him off. "Focus on getting your strength back. That's all that matters right now." He didn't look convinced. Brenda walked in, carrying a vase of fresh flowers. "Honey, you're sitting up?" She rushed to his side, kissed his forehead. "You scared me so much. I thought I'd lost you." I watched her. The way she touched his hair, the way her voice broke, the tears that welled up in her eyes right on cue. It was flawless. "You've been amazing through all of this," Adam said, squeezing her hand. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Brenda smiled, but her eyes flicked to me, a quick, assessing glance. "I'll be right back," she said after a moment. "I need to take a call." She left, phone already pressed to her ear. Adam turned to me. "She really has been wonderful, Dad." I nodded. Didn't trust myself to speak, because I knew the truth now, and I couldn't tell him. Not yet. After the visit, I met David at a coffee shop. "How's Adam?" he asked. "Better. Physically." I stared into my coffee. Something about that night doesn't add up. "What do you mean?" I hesitated. I need to know more about Brenda. Her background, her finances, what she's been doing for the past few years. David leaned back, studying me. "You think she's involved?" It wasn't a question. "I think I need answers before I start making accusations." He was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to hire someone. A private investigator?" David exhaled slowly. "Walter, if you're right about this, you're going to tear your family apart." "I know. And if you're wrong?" I looked up at him. "Then I'll deal with that too." That evening, I pulled out my phone and dialed the number I'd found that morning, Morgan Investigations. "This is Sarah." "Miss Morgan, my name is Walter Dalton. I need to hire you for a confidential matter." A pause. "What kind of matter, Mr. Dalton?" "I need you to investigate someone. My daughter-in-law." Another pause, longer this time. "Can you tell me why?" "I have reason to believe she tried to harm me. And I need proof before I can go to the authorities." "When can you meet?" "Tomorrow morning. Anywhere you choose." "There's a diner on Burnside."
The tin shed.
8 a.m. She hesitated. "Mr. Dalton, if you're right about this, things are going to get complicated." "I know. And if I'm wrong, then I'll deal with that, too." I ended the call. Sarah Morgan's office was on the 3rd floor of an unremarkable building. She opened the door herself. Mid-40s, sharp eyes that seemed to catalog everything about me in 3 seconds. "Mr. Dalton, come in." The office was professional but modest. Filing cabinets, a desk with 2 monitors. "Tell me what's going on." I laid it out, carefully. My son poisoned at my housewarming party. Warfarin, my medication, the drink meant for me. 6 pills missing. My daughter-in-law had access to my house. Lab results confirming intentional overdose. I pulled out the documents, the lab report, the timeline I'd constructed, labeled like blueprints. Sarah took them, scanned each page. "Classic signs of financial motive," she said finally. "Let me run a comprehensive background check." I gave her everything: Brenda's full name, her social security number, date of birth. "Give me 3 days for preliminary findings, 1 week for the full picture." "What's your retainer?" $2,000 upfront. Then I bill hourly. I wrote the check. 3 days later, my phone rang. Mr. Dalton, can you come to my office? I found some things you need to see in person. I drove downtown. Sarah had a thick file folder waiting. Credit reports. Your daughter-in-law is $320,000 in debt. I stared at the number. That's not possible. Adams sends her money. She works. She makes about $18,000 a year in real estate commissions. The debt started before the marriage, $90,000. It's grown to $320,000 since then. She spread out the documents. Credit card statements, 15 cards, all maxed out. Personal loans, payday loans. I felt sick. Recent applications, Sarah continued, all denied, some with forged income documents. I couldn't speak. She pulled her laptop closer, turned it toward me. Internet search history. Last 6 months. The screen showed a list of Google searches from the home computer Adam and Brenda shared. Asterisk how to contest a will. Elderly incapacity requirements. Oregon. Inheriting property from in-laws. Power of attorney. Aging parents. Warfarin overdose symptoms. Asterisk that last one was dated 3 weeks before my housewarming party. I felt cold. There's one more thing, Sarah said. 2 months ago, she met with an attorney, an elder law specialist, Arthur Reynolds. What did she ask him about? I'm working on that. Attorney-client privilege makes it difficult, but I'll find out. I sat there, staring at the papers spread across her desk. $320,000. Search terms about inheritance and incapacity. Warfarin overdose symptoms. A meeting with an elder law attorney.
She tried to poison me.
This isn't just motive, I said quietly. This is premeditation. Sarah nodded. Yes, it is. I drove home in a daze. $320,000. My daughter-in-law was drowning in debt, and Adam had no idea. She'd been researching how to inherit from aging in-laws, how to prove incapacity. The picture was screaming at me, but I couldn't go to the police yet. Search history could be explained away. Debt wasn't a crime. Meeting with a lawyer wasn't evidence of attempted murder. I needed more. Proof she'd taken those pills. Proof she'd crushed them into that drink. Proof that connected her actions directly to what happened to Adam. Because if I accused her now, she'd deny everything. She'd cry. She'd play the victim. And my son, still weak, still grateful for her devoted performance, would believe her.
Not me.
I saw Chloe Davidson again on a Tuesday, 5 days after hiring Sarah. I'd stopped by a coffee shop near Adam and Brenda's place. What I saw through the window stopped me cold. Chloe was sitting in a corner booth with Brenda, leaning in close, the kind of conversation you have when you don't want anyone else to hear. I walked in, kept my head down, chose a table on the opposite side, picked up a discarded newspaper, held it up like I was reading. Through the gap, I watched them. Brenda was showing Chloe something on her phone. Both leaned in, heads close. Chloe pulled out a small notebook and started writing. This wasn't two friends catching up. This was business. Serious business. The conversation lasted 15 minutes. Then Brenda glanced at her watch, and they stood. No hug, no warm goodbye. Just a nod, and they walked out in opposite directions. I waited until Brenda's car pulled out, then I made a decision that was probably stupid. I followed Chloe. She drove a gray sedan, nothing flashy. I stayed 2 cars back, heart pounding like I was in a spy movie. 10 minutes later, she turned onto my street. Not Adam's street.
Mine.
She parked across from my house. Engine off.
Just sat there.
I pulled over 2 blocks down, grabbed my phone, and dialed David. David, it's Walter. I need a favor. Can I use your side yard for a few minutes?
Sure.
Why? I'll explain later. I cut through the alley behind his house, came up through the side gate, and crouched behind the fence. I had a clear view of the street. Chloe was still in her car, staring at my house. She pulled out her phone, started taking pictures. Front angle, side angle, the driveway, the garage. She wasn't just looking.
She was documenting.
20 minutes. She sat there, taking notes, taking photos, studying my house like she was appraising it or planning something. Finally, She started the engine and drove away. I pulled out my phone and called Sarah. Mr. Dalton, there's someone else involved. A woman named Chloe Davidson. Brenda introduced her at my party. Said she was a friend, a wedding planner. But I just saw the meeting in secret. And now Chloe's outside my house taking pictures. Sarah was quiet. Describe her. Early 40s, professional look, gray sedan. She spent 20 minutes photographing my house. I'll add her to the investigation. See what I can find. I hesitated. How many people are working with Brenda? Let me dig deeper, Mr. Dalton. I'll call you soon. She hung up. I stood there, staring at the empty street. It wasn't just Brenda anymore. She had help. 2 women, 1 plan, and me, standing alone in the growing dark, trying to figure out how to protect myself from people who'd already proven they'd cross any line. 2 weeks after the incident, I got the call I'd been waiting for. Adam was being discharged. I drove to the hospital, my mind churning with everything I'd learned. The nurse met me in the hallway. I signed the discharge papers, and she gave me guidelines for monitoring anticoagulant levels, a chilling irony. Adam was sitting on the edge of the bed, dressed in the clothes I'd brought him. Pale, tired, but alive. Ready to go home, son? He nodded. More than ready. The drive to his house was quiet. Adam stared out the window. Thanks for being there, Dad. I don't remember much from that night, but I know you were there. My throat tightened. Always, son. When we pulled into the driveway, Brenda rushed out, practically yanking him from the car. Honey, careful. Don't tire yourself. Let me help you. She wrapped an arm around his waist, guiding him toward the house like he was made of glass. Lily came running. Daddy, you're home. She stopped short, seeing how pale he was. Grandpa, is Daddy all better? I crouched down, took her small hand. He's getting there, sweetheart. He just needs rest. Inside, I helped Adam to the bedroom. He sank onto the bed with a sigh. For a moment, it was just the 2 of us. Dad, he said quietly. I keep trying to remember that night. What did I drink? What happened? Every instinct screamed at me to tell him, to pull out my phone, show him the lab report, the credit statements, the search history. But I looked at him, pale and exhausted. And I knew I couldn't. Not yet. Not while he was this weak. What if I was wrong? What if accusing Brenda tore him apart? The doctors said it was warfarin. I said carefully. Somehow you ingested it. They're still investigating how. Don't force yourself to remember. Just focus on getting your strength back. Adam frowned. But I don't take any medications. How could I have? These things happen sometimes. Medical mysteries. I forced a smile. What matters is you're okay now. He stared at me for a long moment, like he knew I wasn't telling him everything. Then he closed his eyes. I'm so tired. Rest, I said. I'll go downstairs with Lily. In the kitchen, I made tea. Brenda moved around me, tidying, checking her phone, a show of domestic normalcy. Then I heard her voice from the next room. Low, tense. The door was cracked open. She thought I was outside with Lily. I froze by the kettle listening. I told you it went wrong, she hissed into the phone. He's still alive. We need another plan. My blood turned to ice. It's too risky right now. Everyone's watching. We wait. No, I can't talk here. The call ended abruptly. A second later, Brenda walked back into the kitchen, her face bright and cheerful again. Dad, you should stay for dinner. I'm making Adam's favorite. I turned, forcing my face into something neutral. My heart pounded so hard I thought she'd hear it. No thanks, I said. I should let Adam rest. Too many people around isn't good for recovery. She tilted her head, studying me. You're probably right. He needs quiet. I hugged Lily goodbye and walked out of my car. I sat in the driver's seat, hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. She'd said it clearly. We need another plan. We meaning her and whoever she'd been talking to, Chloe, probably. And another plan meant she hadn't stopped. Whatever had happened at my party, the poison drink, the 6 pills crushed into whiskey, that was just the first attempt. My son was home, recovering, trusting his wife completely. And I was the only one who knew she was planning the next move. I couldn't just gather evidence anymore. I had to stop her. Brenda called me 3 days after Adam came home. Her voice was sweet as honey, the kind of sweet that makes you check for poison. Dad, I feel just terrible about what happened at the party. I want to help you, make it up to you. I stood in my kitchen, phone pressed to my ear, and said nothing for a moment. Let the silence stretch, waited to see what she'd say next. I know you've been through so much, she continued, worrying about Adam, and I feel like I haven't been there for you the way I should have been. Interesting choice of words. That's kind of you, Brenda, I said carefully. Adam mentioned your gutters need cleaning before winter sets in. I have a ladder, and I'm free this Saturday.
Let me take care of that for you.
Adam had mentioned no such thing. I cleaned those gutters myself 3 weeks ago. Every downspout clear, every seam checked. But I kept my voice neutral. That's very thoughtful. It's the least I can do.
You've been so worried about Adam.
Let me take some burden off you, Dad. The word dad had never sounded more calculated. Saturday works, I said. What time? 10 a.m. I'll bring my ladder from our garage. The good one. Aluminum extension, 24 feet. Professional grade. Professional grade. She wanted me to know it was sturdy, reliable, safe. Sounds good. I'll see you then. I hung up. Then I stood there for a full minute, staring at the phone.
She was planning something.
I immediately called David. David, I need a favor. Name it. Saturday morning. Can you happen to stop by my house around 10:15? Maybe you forgot a tool here last week. Something like that. There was a pause. Walter, what's going on? Brenda's coming over to help clean my gutters. And you think? I don't know what I think, but I have a bad feeling. Just be there, please. I'll be there. Saturday morning, I woke at 7, made coffee, walked through the house twice, checking sight lines from the windows. At 9:03, I set my phone on the windowsill in the living room where the gutters ran along the roofline. I opened the camera app, started recording video, and made sure the lens had a clear view of the driveway and the section of wall where a ladder would most likely go. Then I went outside and waited. Brenda arrived at 10 sharp. Her car pulled into my driveway with an aluminum extension ladder strapped to the roof rack. She climbed out, wearing fitted jeans, work boots, and brown leather gloves. A canvas tool bag hung from her shoulder.
She looked the part. Competent.
Helpful. The devoted daughter-in-law. Good morning, Dad. She smiled brightly. Beautiful day for home maintenance, isn't it? Morning, Brenda. She walked to the back of her car, unstrapped the ladder with practiced efficiency, and carried it to the front of the house, set it carefully against the wall, just below the section of gutter that ran above the porch. You stay down here, okay? She patted my shoulder, condescending, gentle. Your balance isn't what it used to be. We don't want another hospital trip. The words landed like a slap, but I smiled. You're right. I appreciate you doing this. Of course. She adjusted the ladder, tested its stability with a little shake, then started climbing. The tool bag swung from her shoulder. She stopped halfway up, maybe 12 feet off the ground, and looked into the gutter. Oh my goodness, Dad. These are so clogged. This is going to take a while. Take your time, I called up. I'm right here if you need anything. She nodded, pulled a small hand rake from the tool bag, and made a show of scraping at the gutter. Leaves fell. I waited until she was focused on the roofline. Then I walked casually back toward the front door, stepped inside, and moved to the window where my phone was recording. Through the glass, I had a perfect view, and what I saw made my blood freeze. Brenda wasn't cleaning the gutters. Her hands were on the ladder, working the locking mechanism where the two sections of the extension ladder overlapped. I'd worked with ladders for 40 years. I knew how they were built, how they were supposed to lock, how they failed when something went wrong. She pulled a small wrench from the tool bag, a ratcheting socket wrench, the kind you'd use for precision work. She started loosening the bolts that held the extension sections together, not removing them, just loosening them. 2 turns. 3. Then she moved to the safety pins, small spring-loaded clips that locked the ladder's joints in place when extended. She pressed the release, slid them halfway out, and left them hanging loose in their holes. Not enough to make the ladder collapse immediately, but enough that under the right weight or the right shift in balance, the joints would give. The ladder would fold, and whoever was on it would fall from 15 feet up. At my age, that kind of fall wasn't just dangerous. It was potentially lethal. She finished her work in less than 5 minutes. Slipped the wrench back into the tool bag, went back to scraping at the gutters like nothing had happened. Then she called down. "Dad, can you come hold the base of the ladder for me? It feels a little unstable up here." I didn't move. She called again, louder. "Dad, are you there?" I stayed at the window, silent, watching. She looked down, frowning, shifted her weight on the ladder. The frame creaked but held. She'd sabotaged it carefully. It wouldn't fail under her weight. Not while she was climbing down. But if someone heavier got on it, or if someone stood at the base and it shifted the wrong way. She climbed, down slowly, testing each rung, and stepped onto the ground. "Dad," she called toward the house, voice tinged with concern. I stood at the window, heart pounding, phone still recording. She was on my property in my front yard, and she'd just spent 5 minutes rigging a ladder to collapse, hoping I'd climb it or stand beneath it, or do something stupid enough to finish what the poison drink hadn't. She thought I was too old to notice, too trusting to suspect, too blind to see. But I'd seen everything. I was reaching for the door handle, trying to figure out how to refuse her request without revealing I'd been watching, when I heard the rumble of an engine. David's pickup truck turned into my driveway, right on schedule. He parked, climbed out, and waved. "Hey, Walter. Stop by to check that porch railing we talked about last week." We'd never talked about any railing, but David was playing his part perfectly. He glanced up at Brenda.
Oh, wow.
"Home maintenance day." Brenda looked down, and I caught the flash of annoyance in her eyes before she covered it with a smile. "Just helping Dad clean his gutters. I've got it under control." David walked over, hands in his pockets, the posture of a man who'd spent 40 years on construction sites. "Hey, before you go any higher, let me check that ladder real quick." Old habit. I've seen too many accidents. Safety first, you know. "It's fine," Brenda said, her smile tightening. "I've used this ladder 100 times. "Humor me," David said, still friendly, still casual, but something in his voice made it clear he wasn't asking. Brenda climbed down slowly, stepped to the side, and gestured at the ladder with a tight little flourish. "Be my guest." David moved to the base of a ladder, gripped the sides, shook it gently, then harder. His face went dark. "Walter," he said quietly, "come here. Look at this." I stepped out of the house, walked over, tried to keep my face neutral. David pointed to the joints where the ladder's 2 sections overlapped. "These bolts are barely holding. The safety pins are gone. This whole load-bearing joint is compromised." He demonstrated, applying pressure to one side. The ladder wobbled more than it should have. "If anyone climbed this thing past the halfway point," David said, his voice hard, "it would collapse. And from this height, we're talking serious injury, broken bones, worse." I looked at Brenda. She was standing with her arms crossed, jaw set. "I don't understand," I said, keeping my voice confused. "Brenda, was the ladder like this when you got it out?" She hesitated, just for a second. Then she shook her head. "I don't know. It was fine the last time I used it. It must have been like that already. I grabbed it from our garage. Maybe it's been sitting too long. Maybe something rusted or—" "Brenda," David interrupted. He crouched down, ran his finger along one of the bolt heads. "Look at this." He stood, held his finger up. Fresh metal dust. "These scratches are new tool marks. See where the wrench gripped? These bolts were loosened intentionally. Recently." The air went still. Brenda's face flushed. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying someone sabotaged this ladder." "Are you?" Her voice rose, shook. "Are you accusing me of something?" David didn't answer, just looked at her. Brenda turned to me, and I watched her eyes fill with tears. Real tears, or a damn good imitation. "Dad," she said, voice breaking. "You can't think I would." After Adam almost died. You think I'd try to hurt you? I looked at her for a long moment. Then I said, very calmly, I think you should go home, Brenda. Her face twisted. You're going to believe him over me? I'm your son's wife. I'm family. I said, go. She stared at me. Then she grabbed her tool bag, yanked it off the ground, and turned to David. Adam is going to hear about this. The way you people treated me. Drive carefully, I said. She threw the tool bag into the back seat, grabbed the ladder, shoved it onto the roof rack without strapping it properly, and got in. The engine roared to life. She reversed hard, tires squealing, and sped out of the driveway. David and I stood there in the sudden silence. Walter, he said finally. What the hell is going on? I walked back into the house, grabbed my phone from the windowsill, and came back out. I recorded the whole thing. I pulled up the video, handed him the phone. David watched. His face went pale. Jesus Christ, he whispered. On the screen, Brenda's hands moved methodically over the ladder joints. Wrench, bolts, safety pins. Every second, crystal clear. David handed the phone back. This is attempted murder. You need to call the police.
Not yet.
I need more than this. Or she'll just.
She just tried to.
I need enough proof that Adam will believe me. If I go to him with just this, she'll cry. She'll say it's a misunderstanding. She'll say the ladder was already broken and she didn't notice. He loves her, David. He'll want to believe her version. David stared at me. And what if she tries something else while you're waiting? Then I'll be ready. I won't go to my son with half a story, I said. I need proof so overwhelming he can't ignore it. David shook his head. You're taking a hell of a risk. I know. He left a few minutes later, told me to call him if I needed anything, told me to be careful. I stood alone in my driveway, phone in my hand. I had the lab results proving she'd poisoned my drink. I had the financial records showing her desperate debt. I had the internet search history about inheritance and incapacity. And now I had video of her sabotaging a ladder, trying to cause me serious injury, or worse. But David was right about one thing. She just tried again. And desperate, calculating people like Brenda didn't stop until they succeeded, or until they were stopped. I needed something irrefutable, something even love. Even Adam's love for his wife couldn't blind him to. Sarah Morgan called me early Tuesday morning, 4 days after the ladder incident. Her voice had a tone I'd never heard before. Urgency mixed with confusion. Walter, we need to talk about Chloe Davidson. Can you come to my office? This isn't something I can explain over the phone. I grabbed my keys. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Before I tell you the truth about Chloe Davidson, I need to hear from you. What do you think is really happening here? What's her real role in all of this? Comment below with your theory. I want to see who figured it out. Sarah had a thick file folder on her desk when I walked in, her laptop open beside it. She didn't waste time. I ran a full background check on Chloe Davidson like you asked. I sat down. She's helping Brenda, right? Sarah hesitated, looked at me carefully. Not exactly. What do you mean? Not exactly. Walter, Chloe Davidson is a licensed private investigator. The words didn't register at first. I stared at her. What? She turned the laptop around. On the screen was a professional licensing database. Chloe Davidson, private investigator, license number 47832, status, active. Years in business, 15. Below that were business registration documents, client reviews, all 5 stars. Her specialties: domestic cases, infidelity investigations, financial fraud, asset tracking. I don't understand, I said slowly. I saw them together at that coffee shop. They were meeting, planning something. That's what confused me, too, Sarah said. Why would a private investigator be meeting with Brenda? So, I kept digging. She pulled a stack of bank statements from the file, slid them across the desk. Look at this. 3 months ago, March 15th. I scanned the page. A payment to Chloe Davidson Investigations. $5,000, listed as a retainer. And the account holder, my chest tightened. Adam Dalton. Not a joint account. Not one Brenda had access to. Adam's personal checking account. His teacher's credit union. The one he'd had since before they got married. Adam hired her, I said. My voice sounded far away. 3 months before your housewarming party. I looked up at Sarah. Why didn't he tell me? I don't know, but here's what I do know. She tapped the bank statement. Chloe isn't working for Brenda. She's working against her. Your son hired a private investigator to look into his own wife. The room suddenly felt too small, too hot. I thought back through the last few weeks. Every interaction, every moment. I'd misunderstood Chloe at my party. I thought she was Brenda's friend, her accomplice. But she wasn't. She'd been observing Brenda, watching her, gathering evidence. Chloe photographing my house. I thought she was casing it, helping Brenda plan something. But she wasn't. She'd been documenting my assets, building a case. Chloe meeting Brenda at that coffee shop. I thought they were conspiring, but they weren't. Chloe had been interrogating her, or following her, or both. I got it all backwards, I said quietly. Sarah nodded. It looks like your son suspected something 3 months ago. Enough to hire professional help. Then why keep it from me? That's the question. She closed the laptop. What did Adam find? And why did he feel like he couldn't tell his own father? I stood up. My legs felt unsteady. I need to talk to him. Chris. Sarah's voice stopped me at the door. Be careful. If Adam's been investigating Brenda for 3 months, there's more going on here than we know. I sat in my car in the parking lot, engine off, hands gripping the steering wheel. Adam had hired Chloe 3 months ago. 3 months before my housewarming party. 3 months before he nearly died from drinking a poison cocktail that was meant for me. The timeline made my head spin. What had he discovered in those 3 months? Had he found the debt? The search history about inheritance and incapacity? Had Chloe told him what Brenda was planning? And if he knew, why hadn't he warned me? Was he trying to protect me, gathering evidence before making accusations he couldn't take back? Or was he hoping he was wrong? Hoping the woman he loved wasn't capable of what the evidence suggested. I thought about the night of the party. The way Adam had stood behind me. The way he'd picked up that glass from the side table. The way he'd drunk it without hesitation. Had it been an accident? Or had he known what was in it? No, that was insane. He wouldn't have. But then why hire Chloe 3 months earlier? Why investigate Brenda in secret? My son had known something was wrong. Something serious enough to spend $5,000 on a private investigator, but not serious enough, or maybe too serious, to tell me. I pulled out my phone, stared at Adam's name in my contacts. My thumb hovered over the call button. Then I put the phone down. I wasn't ready. Not yet. Because if I called him now, if I asked him why he'd hired Chloe, what he'd found, why he'd kept it from me, I'd have to hear the answer. And I wasn't sure I could handle the truth. Not if it meant my son had known his wife was dangerous. Not if it meant he'd suspected she might try to hurt me. Not if it meant he'd kept that knowledge to himself while she poisoned a drink at my party. I started the car and pulled out of the parking lot. I needed answers. But for the first time in my life, I was afraid of what those answers might be. I couldn't wait any longer. The discovery that Adam had hired Chloe haunted me through 2 sleepless nights. I needed to know what my son had found and why he'd kept it from me. 2 days after meeting with Sarah, I found myself sitting in my car outside Lincoln High School where Adam taught English, trying to figure out how to start a conversation I didn't know how to have. The lunch bell rang. Students poured out. I watched them, feeling old, out of place. Then I saw Adam. He came through a side door, messenger bag slung over his shoulder, heading for his car. He didn't see me until I got out and walked toward him. He stopped. Dad. Hi, son. His face shifted, confusion then worry. What are you doing here? Is everything okay? I need to talk to you.
Just a few minutes.
Can we grab coffee? He checked his watch, hesitated. Okay, there's a place on the corner. I have 30 minutes. The coffee shop was small, local. We ordered, sat down at a table. Adam set his bag on the floor, wrapped his hands around his cup. What's going on? You look worried. I didn't know how to start, so I just said it. Adam, I need to ask you something. Have you noticed anything unusual about Brenda lately? His face went blank, then defensive. What do you mean? Financial pressure? Changes in behavior? Anything that seems off? We're fine, Dad. His voice was careful, guarded. Why are you asking? I'm just concerned. After what happened at the party, the doctor said it was some kind of drug interaction. He said it too quickly. A freak accident. I leaned forward. Was it? Adam went still, stared at his coffee. The silence stretched too long. What else would it be, he said finally. I wanted to ask him about Chloe, about the $5,000 payment, about why he'd hired a private investigator 3 months before my party. But something in his eyes stopped me. He knew something. I could see it. The way he wouldn't meet my gaze. The way his jaw was set. The way his hands gripped that coffee cup like he was holding onto something he didn't want to let go of. But he wasn't ready to talk. Or didn't want to. Or was protecting something he couldn't say out loud. I tried a different approach. That night at the party, I said. Do you remember anything? Which glass did you drink from? Another long pause. Adam stared down at his coffee. No, he said quietly. I've tried to remember. It's just blank. I felt dizzy. Then I woke up in the hospital. You picked up a glass from the side table, I said. Do you remember why? He looked up. Something flashed in his eyes. Recognition.
Fear.
I couldn't tell. Does it matter which glass I drank from? It might. He stared at me for a moment. Then he checked his watch and stood up. Dad, I really need to get back to class. We can talk about this another time. Adam, another time.
His voice was firm.
Students are waiting. He grabbed his bag and walked out. I sat there alone, watching him through the window. Adam crossed the street, heading back toward the school. Then he stopped, pulled out his phone, made a call. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but I could see his body language. Tense. Urgent. One hand pressed to his forehead, like he had a headache, pacing in a tight circle on the sidewalk. Who was he calling? Brenda? Chloe? Someone else I didn't know about? He talked for maybe 2 minutes. Then he hung up, stood there for a moment, staring at the phone, and walked back into the school building. I sat in that coffee shop for another 10 minutes.
My son was hiding something.
That much was clear. But what was he protecting?
Me?
By keeping secrets, by gathering evidence on his own, by hiring Chloe Davidson 3 months before my party? Or was he protecting Brenda? Out of love, out of denial, out of some misplaced loyalty to a woman who might be trying to kill me? Or was he protecting himself from a truth too terrible to face? From the knowledge that his wife, the mother of his child, was capable of something unthinkable. I'd come here looking for answers, and I'd left with more questions. But one thing was certain. Adam's silence was more dangerous than Brenda's schemes. Because if my son knew something and wasn't telling me, then whatever he discovered 3 months ago was either too terrible to share or too complicated for me to understand. Either way, I was running out of time. Brenda had tried twice. The poison drink. The sabotaged ladder. She would try again. And if Adam knew that, if he'd suspected it for 3 months and still hadn't warned me, then I couldn't wait for him to find the courage to speak. I had to act.
Now.
Sarah Morgan called me 2 days later, on a Sunday morning. I was in the garage, pretending to organize tools when my phone rang. Her voice was tight. Walter, I found something. It's worse than we thought. Can you come to my office right now? I was there in 20 minutes. Sarah had her laptop open, papers spread across her desk. She didn't say hello, just gestured for me to sit. I got access to Brenda's phone records, text message backups. There's someone else involved. My stomach dropped.
Who?
She turned the laptop around. On the screen was a text message thread. The contact name was just Stephanie. No last name. Stephanie Miller, 32 years old, lives in Seattle. Sarah pulled up a driver's license photo. The woman in the picture looked like Brenda. Younger, sharper features, but definitely related. She's Brenda's sister. I stared at the photo. I didn't know Brenda had a sister. Most people don't. They're not close publicly, but privately. Sarah slid a stack of printed messages across the desk. These started 6 months ago. I picked up the first page. The earliest messages were from February, 4 months ago. Stephanie had asked Brenda if she'd talked to that lawyer yet. Brenda said yes. Said the lawyer told her that if they could prove I was incapable of managing my own affairs, power would transfer to Adam, and then through Adam to her. Stephanie had asked what would happen if I didn't cooperate. Brenda's response made my blood run cold. There were ways to make someone look incompetent. My hands started shaking. The next set of messages was from March, 3 months before my party. Stephanie told Brenda she'd found a source, someone who could get what Brenda needed, but it would cost $800. Brenda told her to do it, said she'd send the money. A day later, Stephanie confirmed she'd mailed it. No trail, she'd written. Sarah pointed at another document on her desk. I traced that $800. Brenda sent it via money order. Stephanie used it to buy warfarin from an online pharmacy in Mexico. She showed me the receipts. Shipping confirmation to Stephanie's address in Seattle. Then a second shipping record. Stephanie had mailed a package to Brenda 1 week later. She bought the poison, I said quietly, and shipped it to Brenda. Yes. I flipped to the next page. These messages were from late May, 2 weeks before my housewarming party. Stephanie had asked if Brenda received the package. Brenda said yes. Said this Saturday, my party, would be the perfect opportunity. Stephanie told her to be careful, to make it look natural. A heart attack, a stroke, something that fit my age. Brenda had written back that she knew what she was doing. I couldn't breathe. The next messages were from June 9th, the day after the party. Stephanie had asked what happened. Multiple question marks. Frantic. Brenda told her something had gone wrong, that Adam had drunk the poison instead of me. Stephanie's response, all caps, disbelief, asked if Brenda was kidding, asked if Adam was okay. Brenda said he was in the hospital, that the doctors were calling it warfarin poisoning, that he'd recover. Stephanie called her an idiot, said it was a disaster. Brenda wrote back that she knew, told Stephanie to delete everything, to stop texting her. Stephanie's last message in that thread, too late for that, they tried to delete it, Sarah said. But I recovered everything from cloud backup. I set the papers down. My hands were shaking too badly to hold them. They planned it together. Sarah nodded. Stephanie supplied the means. Brenda executed. Classic conspiracy. There was one more set of messages from 3 days ago, after the latter incident. Stephanie had asked if Brenda had done it, if she'd finished what she started. Brenda said I hadn't taken the bait, that my neighbor had shown up, that she thought I suspected something. Stephanie told her to stop. Said she was going to get caught. But Brenda said she couldn't stop.
Not now.
That I was investigating. That she had to finish it before I found everything. Stephanie's final message, you're insane. I looked up at Sarah. My throat was tight. This is premeditated murder. Conspiracy to commit murder.
Yes.
And Stephanie's involvement means if we go to the authorities, both sisters will face charges. Do we have enough? Sarah leaned back in her chair. For the police, absolutely. The text messages, the money order, the pharmacy records, the shipping confirmations, it's all documented. They can't explain this away. And for Adam, she studied my face. That's your decision, Walter. You're his father. You know him better than I do. Will he believe this, or will he find a way to rationalize it? I didn't answer because I didn't know. I drove home with a folder full of printed messages on the passenger seat. It wasn't just Brenda. Her sister had helped her, had found someone to sell them illegal drugs, had coached her through the planning, had known exactly what Brenda was going to do at my party, and had only been upset when the wrong person drank the poison. 2 sisters, one inheritance they'd already spent in their minds. $320,000 in debt between the 2 of them, probably more. They'd been planning this for months, since February at least, maybe longer. They'd bought warfarin from Mexico, shipped it across state lines, planned the execution down to the day and the hour. And when it failed, when Adam collapsed instead of me, Brenda hadn't stopped. She'd tried again with the latter. And somewhere in Seattle, Stephanie Miller was waiting to hear whether her sister had finally succeeded. I pulled into my driveway and sat there, engine off, staring at that folder. I had everything now. The financial records showing Brenda's debt, the search history about inheritance and incapacity, the video of her sabotaging the ladder. And now these messages, proof that it was all premeditated, proof that she hadn't acted alone. The question was, what was I going to do with it? The social worker arrived on Thursday afternoon, 3 days after my meeting with Sarah about Stephanie. I'd been expecting this. It was Brenda's next logical move. But seeing the government vehicle pull into my driveway still sent a chill down my spine. I opened the door before she could ring the bell. She was Maria from Adult Protective Services. We received a report of concern regarding your welfare. May I come in? I'd prepared for this. Of course, please. I led her into the living room, offered tea. She accepted, setting her clipboard on the coffee table. I want to be direct with you. The report alleges several issues: possible self-neglect, confusion, memory problems, and unsafe living conditions. The reporter expressed concern that you may not be capable of living independently. I kept my voice steady. I understand. May I ask who filed this report? Reports can be submitted anonymously, Maria said, her tone neutral. But I can tell you this came from a family member concerned for your welfare. My daughter-in-law, Brenda. Maria's expression remained carefully neutral. I can't confirm the source, but I'm here to assess the situation objectively. I understand. Where would you like to start? She stood. A walkthrough of the home, if that's all right. I led her through each room. The living room was clean, organized. No clutter, no safety hazards. The kitchen was well-stocked. In the bathroom, medications were stored carefully, all labeled. Maria photographed the labels and made notes. You're on warfarin and several cardiac medications, all current prescriptions. Yes, my cardiologist, Dr. Erickson, monitors everything. The bedroom was tidy. Maria took notes throughout the tour. Back in the living room, she reviewed her clipboard. Mr. Dalton, your home is in excellent condition. I see no signs of self-neglect or unsafe living conditions. Thank you. I should also mention that I have some documentation that might be relevant. I retrieved the folder I'd prepared, knowing this day would come. Inside, a recent medical clearance from Dr. Erickson, a cognitive assessment showing a perfect score, financial records, meticulously organized. Maria examined each document. This is very thorough. Most people I visit aren't prepared with this level of documentation. I'm a retired architect. Documentation is a habit. The medical clearance and cognitive tests are particularly helpful. These show no signs of incapacity. She closed the folder. Mr. Dalton, based on what I've observed today and the documentation you've provided, I see no evidence supporting the concerns in the report. I leaned forward slightly. Maria, I need to tell you something. I believe this report was filed for purposes of retaliation. Her pen paused. Retaliation for what? So may I show you something? It's relevant to this investigation. She nodded slowly. Go ahead. I opened my laptop and brought up the files I'd been carrying like a stone in my chest for weeks. First, the lab results from the whiskey bottle. This shows 450 milligrams of warfarin detected in a drink at my housewarming party. That's a lethal dose when combined with alcohol. She read the document. Next, the video from my phone. This shows Brenda loosening the bolts on a ladder and removing safety pins from the load-bearing joints. I played the footage. Maria watched without speaking. Then the text messages between Brenda and Stephanie Miller, recovered from cloud backup. Planning, purchasing, the disaster after the party. Maria read each one twice. Finally, the financial documents showing Brenda's $320,000 debt. I handed her a timeline document, everything organized chronologically. Maria sat down, her pen clattering. Mr. Dalton, are you saying your daughter-in-law tried to poison you? I'm saying the evidence suggests it. And when that didn't work, she tried to sabotage a ladder. And when that didn't work either, she filed a false report with your agency to make me appear incapacitated. Have you contacted the police?
Not yet.
I've been gathering evidence, but yes, that's my next step. Maria closed her notebook. Her professional demeanor remained, but something had shifted in her eyes. "Mr. Dalton, you are one of the most competent individuals I've assessed in 10 years with APS. Your home is safe, your mental status is sound, and your affairs are in impeccable order. This case will be closed as unfounded. Thank you." She stood, gathering her materials. "However, I'm required by law to report suspected elder abuse to our investigative unit and to law enforcement. What you've shown me constitutes financial exploitation, attempted harm, and filing a false report. These are criminal matters." My chest tightened. "I understand. I'll be forwarding my assessment and your evidence to Detective Miller with the Portland Police Bureau. Expect a call from him within 24 hours. "I'll be ready." After Maria left, I stood at the window, watching her car pull away. Her official report, clearing my name, already being filed electronically. Brenda's attempt to use the system against me had backfired. Instead of making me look incapacitated, she triggered a formal investigation targeting herself. And within 24 hours, the police would be involved. Everything I'd gathered, every piece of evidence, every carefully documented detail was about to become part of a criminal case. The house I'd bought as a refuge had become the center of an investigation. But for the first time in weeks, I felt something close to relief. I wasn't alone anymore. The system was finally listening. Detective Miller called at 8:00 for the next morning. I know the exact time because I'd been awake since 5, drinking coffee and staring at my phone waiting. "Mr. Dalton, this is Detective Miller with Portland Police Bureau. Adult Protective Services forwarded your case to me. I need you to come to the station. Can you be here before 10? "I'll be there at 9:50. I arrived at the precinct 10 minutes early. Detective Miller met me in the hallway. Mid-40s, experienced eyes, professional demeanor. He shook my hand firmly. "Mr. Dalton, thank you for coming in." He led me into an interview room. Plain walls, metal table, recording equipment. Jensen sat across from me and opened a folder. "I've reviewed Maria's report and the preliminary evidence. We need to go through everything systematically. This may take several hours." "I have time." I brought everything, organized in labeled folders. Miller worked through each piece methodically, taking notes, asking clarifying questions. First, the lab results from the whiskey bottle. 450 mgs of warfarin. Miller read aloud. "Chain of custody documented. This is solid." Next, Adam's medical records. "My prescription records. 6 pills missing from your medication." Miller noted. "Refilled May 26th. You keep detailed logs." "I'm careful with my health." The timeline showing Brenda's access to my house. The video from my phone showing her loosening the ladder bolts and removing safety pins. Timestamp and metadata intact. Sarah Morgan's investigation report. $320,000 in debt. Internet search history. The text messages between Brenda and Stephanie Miller. Miller read through them twice. Financial documents. David's witness statement. Miller reviewed everything twice. His pen moved steadily. Finally, he looked up. "This is substantial evidence. Very well documented. I'm an architect. I understand the importance of structural integrity." Miller closed the folder. "We'll need to interview your son. He's also a victim. He needs to know what's happening." My chest tightened. "He doesn't know. Not all of it. He drank the poison meant for you. He's both a witness and a victim. We need his statement. Can I be there when you tell him?" "Actually, I'd prefer that." Miller reached for his phone. "Let me call him now." He dialed. The call connected on speaker. "Adam Dalton?" "Yes." Adam's voice cautious. "This is Detective Miller, Portland Police Bureau. I need you to come to the station regarding an ongoing investigation." "No, you're not in trouble. It concerns the incident at your father's party. Can you come now?" A pause. Adam's confusion transmitted clearly. "Yes, I can be there in 45 minutes. Ask for me at the front desk." "Thank you." Miller hung up and looked at me. This won't be easy for him. "I know." We waited. Miller reviewed the files again. I drank bad coffee from a styrofoam cup and watched the clock. 43 minutes later, there was a knock on the door. A uniformed officer opened it. Adam stepped inside. He saw me first. Dad, what's going on? Why are the police involved? Miller stood. Please sit down, Mr. Dalton. I need to explain some things. Adam sat slowly, looking between us. Miller opened the folder and began laying out the evidence piece by piece, building the case like an architect builds a structure. The lab results, the missing pills, the debt, the text messages, the video. I watched my son's face change as the evidence accumulated. First, disbelief. This has to be a mistake. Then shock. That's not possible. Then horror. Asterisk the glass. I drank Dad's glass. Asterisk then denial. There must be another explanation. Finally, painful acceptance. Adam's hands shook. Tears tracked down his face. He looked at me across the table. She tried to kill you.
And I
drank it instead. Miller's voice was gentle. That drink was meant for your father. You weren't the target. Adam's voice broke. I could have died. You almost did, I said quietly. Adam processed this. His breathing came in short gasps. All this time she was, oh, God, Dad, I'm so sorry. Miller leaned forward. Adam, did you notice any unusual behavior from your wife before the party? Adam stared at the table. Tears fell onto the metal surface. When he finally looked up, his face was devastated. I need to tell you something. He looked at Miller, then at me. Can I speak to my father privately? Just for a minute. Miller glanced at me. I nodded. 5 minutes. I'll be right outside. He gathered the folders and left, closing the door behind him. The door closed, leaving Adam and me alone in that sterile interview room. My son looked at me across that table, tears streaming down his face, and said the words that made my heart clench. Dad, I need to tell you this. I've known something was wrong for 3 months. I hired Chloe. I've been investigating Brenda since March. And in that moment I understood. My son hadn't been blind. He'd been gathering evidence too. Both of us had been protecting each other in parallel, neither knowing the other was doing the same thing. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered. Adam took a shaky breath and began to explain everything. 3 months ago, I found credit card statements in Brenda's car. I wasn't snooping. Her purse tipped over, papers spilled out. I saw the numbers. $89,000 on one card, $45,000 on another. I listened without interrupting. I confronted her gently, asked if we needed to talk about finances. She said it was temporary. She'd handle it. But something felt wrong. A week later, I overheard a phone call. She was in the garage. Thought I'd left for work, but I'd forgotten my lunch. I heard her say, "He's in the way. Once he's gone, everything goes to Adam. Then it's ours." His voice caught. I thought she meant divorcing me, taking half. Then she said, "He won't live much longer anyway. Just needs a little push."
Adam realized she was talking about me.
Why didn't you tell me? I asked quietly. I wasn't sure. I couldn't accuse my wife of... I couldn't even think it. So, I hired Chloe. He explained he found Chloe Davidson through online research, a reputable PI specializing in family cases. Paid $5,000 from a separate account Brenda didn't know about. Chloe investigated for 2 months. She found the debt. All of it over $320,000. She found the searches on their home computer. Adam recalled Chloe's findings. Brenda had Googled warfarin overdose symptoms. How long to prove incompetence for power of attorney. Inheritance from elderly parents. I still hoped for another explanation. Maybe she was researching for, I don't know, something harmless. 1 week before the party, Chloe called me at school. Chloe said, "Your wife just purchased warfarin illegally through her sister in Seattle. I have the transaction records. She's planning something for this Saturday, your father's housewarming party." Adam faced an impossible choice. Confront Brenda.
Tell me. Cancel the party.
Chloe said we needed to catch her in the act, with witnesses. Something undeniable. Otherwise, Brenda would claim misunderstanding, accident. So, Chloe came to the party undercover. She pretended to be Brenda's friend.
And I
watched. My realization began to dawn. You saw her make the drink. Adam was crying openly now. Chloe texted me, Watch your father's old-fashioned. She just put something in the shaker. I moved closer. I saw Brenda pour Dad's glass. I saw her set it on that table with a napkin marking it. Chloe texted again. She put the medication in. Don't let him drink it. I had 2 seconds to decide. If I spilled it, she'd try again when I wasn't there. If I told you, she'd deny it. We'd have no proof. Warfarin would metabolize out of my system in a few days. So, I made the choice. I stared at my son in disbelief. You drank it on purpose. Adam nodded. I picked up Dad's glass. I drank it while talking to your colleague. Made it look accidental, like a mix-up. I knew what would happen. Chloe had explained warfarin poisoning, the symptoms, the timeline. I knew I'd need to go to the hospital. You could have died. So could you. And you probably have 15, 20 good years left. I have 40. The math was simple. Besides, once the warfarin was in my system, once the hospital ran tests, it would be documented. Undeniable evidence of poisoning. And since I don't take warfarin and you do, and only Brenda knew both those facts, the evidence would point straight to her. Adam's voice steadied slightly. I made myself the evidence, Dad. Evidence that couldn't be denied or explained away. You worked 3 jobs after Mom died to put me through college. You went without so I could have everything. This was nothing compared to that. My throat constricted. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. Chloe advised keeping it secret. Said if you knew, you might react differently. Tipped Brenda off.
And I
needed to be sure. I needed proof that the woman I married, the mother of my daughter, was actually capable of murder. Now I know, and I wish I didn't. I reached across that metal table and gripped my son's hands. They were shaking, ice cold, the hands of a man who had deliberately poisoned himself to save his father's life and expose his wife's crime. Oh, you are exactly the man I always hoped you'd become, I said, my voice breaking too. But God, Adam, don't ever scare me like that again. He laughed through tears, the sound fractured but real. I promise. Detective Miller knocked softly, giving us one more minute together before the formal statements began, before lawyers and prosecutors and trials. 1 minute to simply be father and son, survivors of the same war fought from different sides, realizing we'd been protecting each other all along. 6 months later, I stood on the front porch, watching autumn leaves blanket the yard I'd fought so hard to keep. The maples blazed red and gold, the oaks swayed in the October breeze. This was the first seasonal change I'd experienced in this house without fear. June. Detective Miller's investigation moved swiftly. Brenda and Stephanie were both arrested within a week. The charges: attempted murder, conspiracy, elder abuse, financial exploitation, filing false reports. Stephanie faced additional charges for illegal possession of controlled substances and federal conspiracy. Both sisters were held without bail, flight risks. July. Adam filed for divorce immediately. He fought for and won sole custody of Lily. Brenda didn't contest. She was focused on her criminal defense. Adam moved temporarily to an apartment near my house, close enough for daily visits. August. Plea negotiations began. The evidence was overwhelming. Text messages, lab results, video footage, financial records, Adam's testimony, Chloe's testimony, my testimony. Brenda's defense attorney advised taking a plea deal to avoid life in prison. Stephanie's lawyer recommended the same. September. Sentencing. Brenda received 8 years in prison, 10 years post-release supervision, a permanent restraining order from Lily and me, and mandatory restitution. Stephanie received 4 years for conspiracy, illegal pharmaceutical possession, and 5 years probation. The sisters were sent to separate correctional facilities. October. Now, 6 months later, I stood on the porch. Lily, 8 years old, almost 9, sat at the outdoor table drawing. Adam pulled into the driveway with grocery bags. Weekend visit ritual. Our father-son relationship had deepened, evolved. We could talk about it now, what each of us had done, why we'd kept secrets. We were both trying to protect each other, Adam said one evening, and we both succeeded. Just not the way we'd planned. Lily ran up to me. Grandpa, look at my picture. The drawing showed a family tree with me at the roots, Adam as the trunk, Lily as the branches and leaves. Words written across the bottom. Strong roots, safe branches. My eyes misted. It's beautiful, sweetheart. Mrs. Henderson says family is about people who keep you safe. You and Daddy kept each other safe. Adam overheard and smiled sadly. After Lily went inside for a snack, Adam and I sat on the porch steps. You know what I keep thinking about? Adam said.
Mom.
What she would say about all this. My guess is she'd say we did what family does. We protected each other. And even when it meant keeping secrets.
Especially then.
Though, I hope we won't have any more secrets from now on. Adam's voice was firm. No more secrets. I promise. We shook hands like a contract.
Chloe still existed in my life.
Coffee occasionally, a professional friendship that might become something more someday. No rush. David still stopped by.
Weekly.
He'd help me install a new security system. The house felt different now. Not a fortress, but a real home. After Adam and Lily left that evening, I walked through the rooms. Each held a memory. The living room where the party happened, now with new furniture. The kitchen where I'd counted pills, the medicine cabinet reorganized. The office where I'd documented everything, files now archived. I stood by the window, looking at the oak tree in the backyard. I thought about legacy. What I was leaving Lily wasn't just real estate, but a lesson about standing up for yourself, about trusting your instincts, about gathering evidence before acting, about family being defined by actions, not just bloodlines. This house was meant to be a retirement refuge. It had become a battlefield. Now it was finally home. Not just a structure of wood and nails, but a place where people who love you gather safely. I turned off the porch light and locked the door behind me, the same door I'd unlocked for that housewarming party 6 months ago, when I'd been naive enough to think the greatest threat to my happiness was loneliness. I'd learned since then that real threats come from familiar faces, speaking words of love, pouring poison drinks into crystal glasses. But I'd also learned that family isn't about who shares your blood. It's about who stands beside you when the circle closes. Adam drank poison to save me. I gathered evidence to save him. And together, we built something stronger than either could alone. This house, this beautiful craftsman home I'd worked 30 years to afford, was finally truly mine. Not just legally, though the deed sat safely in the attorney's safe. It was mine in the way that mattered most. Where love ruled, where Lily's laughter echoed, where my son and I rebuilt trust from ruins. Tomorrow morning, I'd wake in my own bed, make coffee in my own kitchen, and spend the day however I chose. That freedom, that peace, that simple certainty of safety, that was what I'd fought to claim. That was what I'd won. And standing in the living room as moonlight filtered through windows I'd personally chosen, I understood something fundamental. A house becomes a home. Not when you buy it, but when you're willing to defend it. This is my home, and no one will take it from me again. To you listening to this family story, remember this. I never imagined the greatest threat to my life would come from someone who called me Dad, with a smile while planning my death. God gave me instincts, that cold feeling when Brenda handed me the glass. And I'm alive today because I listened. God also gave me a son brave enough to drink poison meant for me, turning himself into evidence that couldn't be denied. And God surrounded me with people like David, Sarah, and Chloe when I needed them most. This family story taught me that you can't ignore warning signs just because they come from family. When something feels wrong, it usually is.
Don't be like me.
Don't wait until you're holding lab results proving someone tried to kill you before you act. Trust your gut. Document everything. And never, ever assume that marriage certificates or blood relations guarantee safety. Some people think revenge is ugly, but protecting yourself and those you love, that's not revenge, that's justice. When someone tries to take everything from you, fighting back isn't optional. It's necessary. I learned that a real family story isn't written in wedding albums or birth certificates. It's written in who stands beside you when the walls close in. Adam proved that when he sacrificed himself to save me. That's family. Not the woman who poisoned my drink, but the son who drank it to protect me.
If
You take nothing else from this story. Take this. Predators count on your silence, your doubt, your unwillingness to believe someone close could harm you. Don't give them that advantage. The moment you sense danger, act. Gather evidence. Build your case. Protect yourself before you become another statistic. What I experienced wasn't just dad revenge. It was a father and son protecting each other against a calculated killer. That's the power of real family bonds. What would you have done in Adam's position? Would you have sacrificed yourself for the truth? Let me know in the comments below.